Hey everybody, Victor here, and as you can tell by the title of the video, time for a nation guide. This one is for England. So, before I get started, I wanted to apologize for this video being a little bit later than normal. I was fleeing from the heat wave that hit Oregon this past week, and it got up to 120 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius for the conversion. And so I ran to the coast where it was like 75 Fahrenheit. And so I got away from that. Unfortunately, it gave me a head cold, which became a chest cold, and I've been coughing ever since. So, yeah, been just tons of fun. So this is hopefully when I can actually speak long enough to get through this without hacking up a lung. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get this started, though. So the point of this guide is, I have seen a couple of guides where, and just say it, this is Iron Man, where people say either just take on France, which, not exactly easy, or get an ally like Aragon or Castile that will come in with you against France and use them to get that PE with the 100 Years' War event. Here's the problem. It doesn't always work. The reason why is because sometimes you just won't find an ally, or, to be quite honest, some people simply cannot beat France that early on. So this is a guide that works pretty much 100% of the time. There's only a few instances where I've seen it doesn't work, where you pretty much start rivaled by everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this from my method, which is a bit of a combination of current tactics with the old Arumba strategy from patches and patches and patches ago. So let's go ahead and get this started. First thing to just say, with your rivals, go ahead and rival Scotland and France. Now if you have Lithuania as an option, take it, and you're going to scornfully insult them. The reason why you are scornfully insulting them is because you will eventually have Scotland and France as subjects. Scotland doesn't really matter that much, but France being mad at you can break that personal union if you're not careful. So don't do anything to upset France. It's just not worth it. After that, let's talk about estates. With your estates, go ahead and take indebted to the burghers. It will give you enough money to do what you're going to need to do. If you really want to, you can do the Crown Land exploit, but I don't recommend it in this case because it takes quite a while to get it back. But it does give you tons of money. I'm going to put a card up at the top in case you don't know what that is. Now, clergy doesn't really matter, and I do recommend strongly you taking Monopoly on glass. The reason why is the way monopolies work, you'll get 8 years of the income up front for losing it for 10 years. And you're not going to have glass beyond day one. So if you do this, you'll get 8 years of that income, and you're not losing a thing, and you also even get one mercantilism on top of that, which is always a nice thing to have. So, why are you doing this? Simply put, you're going to go in and you're going to exploit all the manpower development on the continent. Now, if you are in Leviathan, you can go ahead and do this next step. If you are not, you can skip it, but you're going to simply go through here and you're going to unstate everything, and then you're going to concentrate the development on all of this. The reason why is because, to be quite honest, if you don't concentrate the development, you're going to have to be paying more to reintegrate these vassals, because that's what you're doing later on, but also you're not releasing both of them. You're just releasing Normandy. And that means that Bordeaux and Labourd down here are going to be occupied for this war. Not ideal, but it is better than releasing Gascony, and I'll explain why. But by simply concentrating that development, you're making it so there's more development not being occupied, which will help with your war exhaustion. You're then going to grant Normandy here all the provinces on the continent that you can, which are these three, and then you're going to scutage them. This will keep them out of the war, so you don't have to worry about them whatsoever. And you're going to destroy this fort. I understand a lot of people are probably going to want to keep this fort, however, here's the thing. You're not going to come down here to fight France anytime really soon, which means this fort is going to fall. And while this is a useful fort once you're fighting Spain, this is going to go significantly longer into the game before you're ever fighting Spain. So it can go away for now, and you can build one later when you're probably around Fort 6 or 8. So just skip it for now. Break your alliance with Portugal. They are relatively useless. And then simply get the allies you can. Since you dissolve this alliance, you cannot get another one, but that's perfectly fine. And what you're basically doing is you are trying to accomplish this mission by the time the 100 Years' War event fires. Now, I do mean that exactly the way I said it. Because, well, as you can see, the glass is gone now. It doesn't matter if it is the exact same day or not. It just has to be that it is completed before you click the button. You are going to wait to try and complete it until that option comes. As such, if you notice, I'm not doing anything else. And this fort, while it is a useless fort, it can be useful when the War of the Roses event fires. Keep this fort until after the War of the Roses event is done. The reason why is occasionally they will spawn forces or rebels in this area, and this fort just keeps them bottled up. Now that I have my 2 allies, I can go ahead and grab anyone else I want. However, it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to start improving relations with France. The reason why you do this now is because this will keep going and still be there as an improved relation even after you've made a personal union of them. Which means not really going to impact you long term. Or it makes it so you're doing it now as opposed to later. So the more you do it now, the better. As far as the Lollards, you can go ahead and do it if you want, or not do it. It doesn't really matter. I prefer to do it simply because I don't want to have the debuff in opinion that comes with France. And lastly, the debates. It doesn't really matter which one you go with. Personally, I'd prefer to go with the Crown Lands one. And it really doesn't matter if you're waiting long enough. Lastly, improve relations with Normandy. The reason why is, as soon as you can, you're going to reintegrate them because by then, France will be a non-issue. And with that, we're just waiting for the event to fire. And I do mean you are just waiting. You can go ahead and move your armies around, your navy. I would recommend hiring an admiral. Makes this a little bit easier, having an admiral. Not absolutely required, though. And moving to the border. The reason why I say don't just hang back is because I have not seen in the last 2 patches where the fort is reliably turned off. So it is not exactly worth it to try and catch them with the fort down. You can try if you want, however, it's just easier for me to move my forces there. And Lithuania tends to simply stop being a rival. Pick whoever you want. If you want to rival Burgundy, that's fine. However, if they are rival to both you and France, do not rival them, under any circumstances. I will explain why later, but in this case, since they're rival to only me and not to France, I'm going to go ahead and rival them back because it does not really matter. And I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording at this point because I am simply waiting for this event to fire. So I will see you guys when it does. And welcome back. As you can see, the Surrender of Maine event has now fired. Now, the way this event basically works, you can either give them Maine and you'll get a truce with France, lose stability, just a bad choice unless you're facing a France that is really annoying, or telling them no, and then they can have the option to go to war with you, and they'll pretty much always take this. Here's the thing. If you complete this mission, which, if you notice, I haven't done it yet, you're waiting until the event fires to finalize this, because it can either fire in February 1445, or it can take years. And every month it goes, that's a little less you have to do what's next, which is taking more of this exploit development out of your country, because that will lower the maximum manpower that you get, and also give you the manpower that you need in order to complete part of this mission. You're aiming for about 14,000, and then you're going to hire the free company. You don't really need a general, however, if you have one in here that is just an amazing general, go ahead and hire him. I don't really have one, and it's better for me just to hire the free company. So I'm going to then wait until they get spit out, because then it should complete this mission. And there we go. Now the reason why this matters so much is because this will give me the subjugation CB on Scotland. France starts off guaranteeing Scotland, which they are here. However, they do also have the habit of allying them. Simply by declaring war here, you are now going to be at war with France. And yes, I understand that some people are going to look at that and say, okay, you're still at war with them. However, your CB is now up here on the British Isles. You will have the stronger navy, and you can win this war a lot easier. More importantly, you can now tell the French to go away, and nothing will happen. They're already at war with you, they cannot be at double war with you. So what happens is the event automatically fails. They automatically back down, which means Provence doesn't like them as much, which, but they also lose some prestige. This will help prevent you from having to actually fight them with more morale than you. Because your prestige is slightly higher, you should have a slight morale advantage. Still not smart to fight them, but it is what it is. At this point, you are simply going to move your troops and start taking their forts. I personally do it this way, just because if they decide to actually fight my army here, I could bring in a bunch of cavalry and really hurt them, and then I have the free company as well. It's up to you how you choose to do this, but I would recommend not having everybody on one fort. And the idea here is you're going to try and get them stuck on Ireland as quickly as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and start this war. They will usually move all of their forces over and then turn around later to come back north. This is why I leave this free company here, because I'm going to let them move over to take out Pale. And hopefully that will make it so they're ignoring Scotland, because they think Pale is free game. And I have seen plenty of people just not do it this way, and I don't understand why. There you go. Now you will control the strait. They will not be able to cross back over unless you let them, and you are simply going to use your navy to dart around and sink their ships, or capture their ships if at all possible, while coming back quick enough to prevent their army from moving back over. Because they really shouldn't be moving back over. Not until you move your ships out of the way. So you will have some time. So I'm going to go ahead and get there, and I'm going to start swinging around to take out these navies. And that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording here, and I will bring you guys back when something actually interesting is happening, because at this point it's just sieging down forts, which not exactly fun to watch, let alone play. So I'll see you guys then. And welcome back. So the War of Roses event is firing, and this is the nice thing about doing this. France, they're not exactly an issue, and because you're doing it this way, your manpower should hopefully be okay. I've had it where Scotland has rebel problems because their rulers keep dying, which means suddenly you're fighting their rebels because they spawn exactly where you're standing for whatever reason. But hopefully that does not happen to you. As you can see, I'm going to have rebel problems of my own with the Lollards. And here's the thing. The reason you take those burgher loans is because you're going to hire more. You're going to hire more guys. So I'm going to hire the Grand Company, and I'm going to spawn them down here in Scarborough. The reason why is because I'm obviously going to be fighting a bunch of rebels. And this will give me the advantage of having them as shock troops taking most of the casualties and not my normal guys. And that's it. You are then going to fight the War of the Roses, whichever one you pick, doesn't really matter. And you are trying to simply take out the rebels before you then go to France. That's it. So in my case, it looks like, honestly, while both of these are horrible options, I'm going to go ahead and pick them. Now, this 7,000 manpower, just a bit of advice, if you have any of those, dropping as many guys as you can in one, clicking the button, and then removing them gives you the manpower back. It saves it. Feel free to do that. But at this point, I'm simply letting York walk up here. They almost always walk to Northumberland, and then I'll fight them. And the entire time, I'm going to use my navy to keep anybody else from doing anything. However, since I scorched earth on Ayrshire, I will have plenty of time to move wherever I happen to go. So I just need to keep a semi-paying attention on it, and I'll be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording again, and I'll bring you guys back once the rebels here are dealt with, so you can see the situation I'm in at that point. See you guys then. And welcome back. So, as you can see, rebels are dealt with. Unfortunately, I was not paying attention, so I actually had to fight the Scottish too, because, well, I had 5 different interventions all fire at the same time, as well as the Lollards, and then the French also came up and tried to land, so I was a bit distracted. So, manpower's gone, most of my loans are gone. What does this mean? Basically, at this point, you're simply going to take your men and drop them, hopefully, if Burgundy is rival to both of you in France, in Calais. If that is not an option, if you look here, they are not going to give you military access. They won't give it to France either, because there's no reason for them to need it. So you're going to have to go the long way, which means up here to Vildras. Now, you simply get the military access going down the line as much as you possibly can. Simply till you get down here. So, give me one moment here while I continue getting access. And you should eventually be able to walk through all of these guys here, giving you straight shot to Paris. And that's it. So you're going to take all of your armies, and you're going to simply move them over to Vildras. Now, if you actually look at the remaining forces, you're still outnumbered here. France is still a problem. Not as much of one, but it's still a problem. So don't slacken on the rest of this, because if you try and be cheeky about this and take only a few of them, they're likely to engage whatever you send. You're going to have to kind of go into a bit more debt here. Oh, looks like I'm not going to be a tutor. Oh, interesting. I guess I might still be a tutor. And I'm going to walk down to Reims, or Reims, or however you pronounce it. It's been so long since high school French, I really don't know, and I really don't care. It looks like Burgundy ended up giving the mill access, so you can go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and cancel it. If they didn't, it really makes very little difference. The reason why I said to go to Reims first is simply because if you need more men, such as if you don't have any, if one of your mercenary companies isn't there, here you can simply siege it down and then hire another one. In this case, I believe I have enough forces where France is not going to want to attack me. Simply put, I have more cavalry than they do. I have an amazing general because I got fortunate and I had the champion of the joust fire, and this guy is amazing. So they're not likely to attack me. So realistically, they're likely to stare at me, but that's about it. So I'm going to simply wait until this fort is sieged, and then I'm going to take it from there. So I'm going to pause the recording. I'll see you guys when this is done. And welcome back. As you can see, there's the sieged. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my missions, and I'm going to click this button, which will give me claims on these areas, which aren't really needed. And I'm also going to click this one, which will give me a PU, Force Union CB, on France. Now, obviously, this is not going to help me now, but right now, even though they siege me out down here, yeah, they'll still take a white piece. They'll even give me some cash. Don't take it any further than this. I understand the temptation to take a lot more out of them. Don't take it any further than this. The reason why is the longer you do it, the longer that truce will be with them, and honestly, it's going to take more effort from you to actually get more out of them. Right now, it'll pay off some of these loans, and that's really all you need. Because now you're going to wait a day, get black flagged, walk back, and then you can drop off and finish off this war up here. If you really want to. I'm not going to because I'm not playing this any further, but I can simply subjugate Scotland now. Now, I will point out, since they changed the subjugations, you cannot take all of this. So you can take another province from here, from the Isles, the vassal of Scotland, but don't do it. The reason why is you can absolutely take it, however you'll make them a one province minor, and a one province minor can join a trade league, which means you might suddenly find yourself fighting Lubeck, which is very annoying because then you'll have to fight all of the people in the Lubeck trade node, which can get pretty annoying here. So you're already going to have that problem when it comes to Ireland. Don't make it worse for yourself, and just take some money. It's not a great amount of money, but it's money. In this case, I'm not taking Ulster, but don't really need to. And that's it. I now have them done. Whenever you want, you can take this once you're done with the War of the Roses. It'll help to take less aggressive expansion. I prefer, and I would recommend you do the same, saving this from when you're PUing France. The reason why is, even though it is only 10% of their development, if you look at the amount of development they have, that's still a substantial amount of aggressive expansion you're going to be taking with other Catholic countries. So I would recommend you save it. So, just a bit of advice. And then I would also recommend you trying to be nice with the Pope, for the very simple reason that if you can become the papal controller, which you can do by allying them at the beginning of the game if you want, it'll make it a bit easier for you. However, if you look, I'm at 4 of 4. So you're going to get losing Diplo points at this point if you ally the Pope. Just so you can get more papal influence, so you can try and become the papal controller, which will make you take 10% reduced aggressive expansion. After the war, you can go ahead and dissolve the Grand Company, or whatever mercenary you want, because at this point, you can expand through the rest of Ireland using just the Free Company. They should have enough manpower left and be a large enough force to take on pretty much any alliance network that happens to be in Ireland, except for a few rare exceptions. And as I said before, you are going to have a bit of a problem with Scotland being loyal at the beginning. Once you improve relations with them, they should calm down. However, if you have Gascony, Normandy will also be a problem. So simply making sure you do not release Gascony will make your life easier. And now that the war is over, send your diplomat back to France to start improving relations again. Because again, it'll save that 100 improved relation from before the next war in the future. And the whole point of this is, if you look, you should have enough favors to start calling in your allies, which will do more than enough to overwhelm France and take them out and make them into a personal union. And with that, you should be fine. As you can see, Normandy's ready to go, so I can start integrating them in 3 more years. By then, Ireland will be taken over. Scotland, I can get their cores back on the Isles because they're there. And this is by far one of the only real problems that you're going to find early on, is that you have to fight another war to take out the Isles, whereas if you waited, you wouldn't have to fight an extra war. However, they usually don't even get allies except for Ireland, so if they happen to get allies in Ireland, you feed them the cores then. That's about it. But with that, you guys should have no problem whatsoever getting France as a PU, owning all of the British Isles, with as minimal effort as possible. Because as you can see, already making money again, or should be making money once I pay off the loans. Oh, slightly less. But I can't break this now, because I don't have a rebel problem. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. If you guys like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing more of it. And if you guys have a particular country you want me to do, or a mechanic, because I'm making mechanic guides as well, let me know in the comment below. I'd be more than happy to make it. But thank you all for watching. Have a great day.